Hello and welcome to a Riot 3x tutorial, or how to skip gang territories by driving to Grove Street. Let's go over the basics of the trick and some examples of things that can go wrong with a section at the end for some interesting consequences. It's a trick that requires 2 frame-perfect inputs in a row, and while it can be done without a frame limiter, it's probably faster to do Los Desperados dupe instead. I will go over how to download River Tuner, or how to set up San Andreas for speedrunning. There are other tutorials available. First, I will direct your attention to the input visualized on the bottom left. My keybind for look behind / submission is bound to the middle mouse button. Tab is bound to the phone call / action, and for River Tuner, T slows down the game to 3 FPS, 4 makes it 25, and 6 is bound to 60, although 60 is not used for this trick. All the rest of the controls are default. Let's see a complete Riot 3x that's successful first before breaking it down.
Man, you gotta ease up, son. There ain't no justice, man. Get in, nigga.
Getting the on mission 0 call from burglary. You need to get the Boxburg from a spawn near Grove Street after cut through business and drive it to the mansion. If the time of day is wrong or you feel you might fail it, you can buy the mansion next to it and park the Boxburg in it and save for the correct time of day. Getting an on mission 0 call from burglary is the same timing as if you're getting it from an ambulance. Hold tab, middle mouse button in a direction so CJ doesn't close the door, and release middle mouse button on the same frame as when CJ's feet are together and flat. See the images for reference, all while continuing to hold tab. The phone call should ring and burglary should start and end. Before. After. Before. After. It's very important to know what this frame is, so here it is again in motion but slowed down. Yes, it's already slow from the frame limiter, but now even slower. It's very important to know what the frame is, as you need to get it twice in a row. This important part is the phone call needs to ring. It's not the same as on mission vigilante, where sometimes you can't hear the phone call. The phone call needs to ring. This is very important for the second part. To get into the marker, release the phone call as it fades and skip the cutscenes. Drive Sweet's car around and park it by the Boxburg. Get out of Sweet's car and get into the van. Hopefully before the next phone call comes in. I just climbed the wall. As long as I don't press F too early, I generally make it before the next phone call.
CJ, get in.
The second part. Getting on mission 0 burglary. Sweet should be sitting in the car and you're on mission 0. If he isn't, you need to do the first part again. Hold middle mouse button, and when you get out of the van, hold a direction. When you release middle mouse button, press F to get back into the van, and press shift and a direction to stop CJ from closing the door. After the screen goes black, press middle mouse button to restart burglary, which should make the words burglar appear on the screen, and the game should go on mission 1 before going back to on mission 0. Once you're on mission 1 burglary, you can turn the frame limiter off, and when you're back on mission 0, you can get out and start Riot again. There should only be one car when you spawn in, and from there drive back to Grove Street as normal. The most important part of this is that the word burglar should appear on the screen again, and the on mission state should change. Just being on mission 0 burglary isn't enough. It will only dupe Riot, which is useless, obviously. If you fail this, you need to do all the steps again, otherwise you only dupe Riot.
I'm gonna gather up some homies and get the hood locked down.
You need anything, give me a call. I'm gonna check out the city and see what I can see.
You be careful out there, CJ.
It's important to note, if the phone call interrupts you during the second part, you don't need to restart. As long as Sweet's still in the car, you can continue from that point. Possible failure states. With the first part, if you fail to get an on mission 0 phone call from burglary, you need to get back into Boxburg and try again. You can normally tell by the phone call not ringing. Sometimes you can accidentally let go tab and it releases on your on mission 0 phone call, and other times you might let go too early. If you start Riot without the phone call scrolling and go in on mission 0, you need to fail Riot or load a save and try again. The most important failure states are to do with the second part, because if you fail now, you need to do the first part again. The most common way to fail is simply failing to get an on mission 0 phone call. When burglary starts and ends, but since there is no phone call, when you restart burglary, you simply remain on mission 1 burglary. If CJ closes the door, this means you don't have enough time to restart burglary, and if you do start burglary, it'll insta-fail, means stating you no longer have a ski mask. If you press shift too early, CJ might jump instead of getting into the van. You can simplify the door set by removing the door. That's slow, and holding shift isn't that hard. It's just a slightly different timing with the frame limiter on. You can also let go shift too early, which is again due to the different timing because of the frame limiter, which causes CJ to shut the door. If you don't press middle mouse button but still do everything else, it will only dupe Riot.
What the hell's going on up there?
Despite being on mission 0 burglary, it won't work. If the end of line part 2 cutscene doesn't start immediately, you fail to triple
You need
Riot.
anything, give me a call. I'm gonna check out the city and see what I can see.
You be careful out there, CJ.
The marker does nothing, as you can see. Again, even if you're on mission 0 burglary with a previous instance of Riot running, that isn't enough, and this is a failure as well. Although, it was an interesting failure, as I hadn't encountered it before, and it was quite interesting to see what would actually happen, although I was almost 100% certain that it would just dupe Riot and wouldn't actually lead to a triple. Please ignore my terrible driving. Although I know it's very hard to.
I'm gonna gather up some homies and get the hood locked down.
You need anything, give me a call. I'm gonna check out the city and see what I can see.
You be careful out there, CJ.
Yeah. The important thing is that Sweet will get out of the car and walk off. Once that happens, you need to restart the process. If you don't, you will only dupe Riot. The marker at Sweets is actually an old marker of a Los Broncos and does nothing. This is to show that if you don't restart the process and try to continue, it will always fail. And not only that, strange things can happen, like instead of failing the mission and despawning the Boxburg for added punishment. This has no chance of happening if you do it right, by the way. Despite there being 3 versions of Sweet's car, 2 that have just spawned in and 1 from the prior instance, this is only duped Riot. This is due to having failed to do it in between these 2 instances.
I'm gonna gather up some homies and get the hood locked down.
You need anything, give me a call. I'ma check out the city and see what I can see.
You be careful out there, CJ.
Some interesting consequences of using burglary to triple Riot. The most obvious consequence is skipping end of the line part 1 and going straight to part 2. This allows you to complete the rest of the game without doing any additional gang territories. It also looks pretty funny as Smoke dies for seemingly no reason. Like, he has a heart attack and CJ rushes to his aid. CJ will also be wearing the burglary mask and has a different walk cycle, like he's creeping around at night. These will both continue even after you've completed end of the line. This comes as a result of using burglary to triple Riot. This means the burglary timer will be running whilst doing the last mission. You also won't have the normal timer for end of the line part 2. The burglary run doesn't matter. When it reaches 0, it will simply remain at 0. It doesn't even matter to reach 0 before going into the marker at Grove Street. And yes, I checked. See a clip. During end of the line part 3, you can see there's houses you can enter along the road. This is because the burglary is still being active. Although, due to the burglary time, you cannot see Sweet's grip bar, which does make that section a little more tense.
Let go, you dumb bastard!
Fuck you, pig.
For the last section of end of the line part 3, there's no gauge for the car's health, but this section's more or less unfailable as long as you shoot the cars/bikes, although in a speedrun, these are normally not visible due to the boxes on Monster 8X, which, unless you've saved and loaded, will still be there. After the credits, burglary is still active in the background, and this allows you to enter houses you normally aren't able to. Also, if you notice the phone call being used to triple Riot, was the homecoming phone call. This means that once you answer it, there'll be a permanent marker at the mansion, which is kind of cool, I suppose, but given how many markers are left over after the speedrun, it's hard to actually notice. As you may notice, burglary isn't actually running. Although you can enter people's houses, you can't pick things up. And this effect goes away if you save and load. Although you are still wearing the ski mask. And also, Sweet's been his usual useless self and hasn't quite realised we beat the game. Get on with it, Sweet.
But as long as the gross
Wall Street families don't rule the streets, his money's gonna mean more than our rep.
What you got in mind?
We gotta hit those bombs and violence with everything. Hit every neighborhood they got.
If that's the only way, I'm down for that.
I'ma see what I can find out in the streets. Big love, bro.
Much love, bruh.
I just want to see why I made this. Basically, I found Riot 3X somewhat complicated to put together. There's a lot of things you need to do that aren't super obvious, like needing to not close the door, and it took me quite a while to actually understand what was going on, so I compiled my research into this video, and I hope some of you have found it either helpful or informative. If you don't speedrun SA and you made it this far, I hope you try some tricks. They aren't as challenging as they seem. Even one straight X is actually rather straightforward, more straightforward than this, in my opinion. One of the greatest aspects to San Andreas speedrunning is that there's a nice balance between outrageous tricks that skip huge portions of the game and actually being good at the game, like playing the game well. It's super interesting to both watch and play, although it's a very unforgiving speedrun, making slight mistakes and mess things up permanently. I mean, I've been trying to sort of get a good run together for a while, but, you know, hopefully. But anyway, I've been Cataly. Well, I've been Cataly, and yeah, this is the end of the Riot 3X tutorial. Don't know. Well, it's just gonna be messing about now in Las Venturas, demonstrating that you can still keep, like, you know, entering houses now in Las Venturas. But yeah, bye. Wale.
Hello, club baby.
Oh, you think you tough? Now don't make this get really ugly.